Alright, going to read from the Private Oral Exam Guide. This will be Chapter 5, Cross-Country Flight Planning. This will be 5-18. Section C, Radio Communication. What is the most common type of communication radio equipment installed in general aviation aircraft? How many channels are available? In general aviation, the most common type of radios are VHF. VHF radio operates on frequencies between 118 and 136.975 MHz and is classified as 720 or 760 depending on the number of channels it can accommodate. 720 and 760 uses a .025 spacing, 118.025, 118.050, etc. With the 720 having a frequency range up to 135.975 and the 760 going up to 136.975. Number 2, what is the universal VHF emergency frequency? 121.5 MHz. This frequency is guarded by military towers, most civil towers, FSS, and radar facilities. What frequencies are used for ground control? The majority of ground control frequencies are 121.6 to 121.9 MHz. What is a CTAF? CTAF, Common Traffic Advisory Frequency, is a frequency designated for the purpose of carrying out airport advisory practices while operating to or from an airport without an operating control tower. The CTAF may be a Unicom, Multicom, FSS, or tower frequency and is identified in appropriate aeronautical publications. What is Unicom and what frequencies are designated for its use? Unicom is a non-government communication facility which may provide airport information at certain airports. Airports other than those with a control tower, FSS, or airports will normally use 122.7, 122.725, 122.8, 122.975, 123.0, or 123.050, and 123.075 MHz. Airports with a control tower or an FSS on an airport will normally use 122.950 MHz. What does ATIS mean? ATIS means Automatic Terminal Information Service. It is the continuous broadcast of recorded non-control information in selected high-activity terminal areas. Its purpose is to improve controller effectiveness and to relieve frequency congestion by automating the repetitive transmission of essential but routine information. Number 7. If operating into an airport without an operating control tower, FSS, or Unicom, what procedures should be followed? Where there is no tower, FSS, or Unicom station on the airport, use Multicom frequency 122.9 for self-announced procedures. Multicom is a mobile service not open to public use, used to provide communication essential to conduct activities being performed by or directed from private aircraft. What frequencies are monitored by most FSS other than 121.5? FSS and supplemental weather service locations are allocated frequencies for different functions. For example, 122.0 MHz is assigned as the en route flight advisory service frequency at selected FSS. In addition, certain FSS provide local airport advisory on 123.6 MHz. Frequencies are listed in the airport facility directory. If you are in doubt as to what frequency to use, 122.2 MHz is assigned to the majority of SSS as common en route simplex frequency. What is an RCO? The remote communication outlet. An RCO is an unmanned communication facility remotely controlled by ATC personnel, established for the purpose of providing ground-to-ground communication between ATC and pilots located at satellite airports. ATC may use the RCO to deliver en-route clearances and departure authorizations and to acknowledge IFR cancellations or departure landing times. As a secondary function, RCOs may be used for advisory purposes whenever the aircraft is below the coverage of the primary air-ground frequency. Number 10. How can a pilot determine what frequency is appropriate for activating his or her VOR flight plan once airborne? 2 ways. Ask the FSS briefer during the pre-flight weather briefing. B. Consult the communication section under Flight Services for airport of departure in the airport facility directory. Number 11. What is the meaning of a heavy lined blue box surrounding a nav aid frequency? A heavy line blue box surrounding the nav station data indicates FSS frequencies 121.5, 122.2, 243.0, and 255.4 are available. Number 12. Why would a frequency be printed on top of a heavy line box? This usually means that this frequency is available in addition to the standard FSS frequencies. Number 13. What is the meaning of a thin line blue box surrounding the nav frequency? A plain box without frequencies on top indicate that there are no standard FSS frequencies available. These nav will have a no voice symbol underlined under frequency. Number 14. Why would a frequency be printed on top of a thin line blue box? These frequencies are the best frequencies to use in the immediate vicinity of the nav site and will ensure reception by the controlling FSS at low altitudes without terrain interference. They will normally be followed by an R, which indicates that the FSS can receive only on that frequency. You transmit on that frequency. The pilot will listen for a response over the nav frequency. Number 15. How can a pilot determine the availability of high Wats when looking at a VFR sectional chart? Nav aids that have high Wats capability are depicted on sectional charts with an H in the upper right corner of the identification box. 16. What meaning does the letter T in a solid blue circle appearing in the top right corner of a nav frequency box have? A transcribed weather broadcast is available. A T-Web is a continuous recording of meteorological and aeronautical information that is broadcast in LMF or VOR facilities for pilots. Let's go see. Got Hurricane Matthew coming through here. Oh. The teenagers of the teenagers. So that was 16. What meaning does the letter T in a solid blue circle mean? That means transcribed weather broadcast. Oh. Fun. Alright. So we're going to go over to number 17. Alright, that was 5-21. And we'll leave right there. 5-21, Chapter 5, Cross-Country Flight Planning. That was, yeah. Cool, that was Section C, Radio Communication. Alright, take care, see you.